Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Pluto Sextile or Trine one's natal moon. Now, this transit may manifest in power, control, transformation, passion, and probing, being in harmony with the emotional needs and in your mood. I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. I'm not saying that, your emotional needs are going to be such where you got to have all this power and control, not in a way where you're romping over people or anything like that. But what I'm saying is it's about just generally, you having power and control in your life and what you can do, whether it could be, freedom related issue. If you have your natal moon in an Aquarius, say it could be over, some freedom and independence issue. If you've been somewhat, confined and been able or unable, to really be able to do what you want, whether it's a home situation or what have you. This is a time, this is a time as well when you have this when you have this transit, you might actually feel more like making the transformation or major change and be in that mood in order to do so. Now, some of you may ask, well, what is the difference like between this transit and say the transit Pluto making a conjunction to one's natal moon? Well, the transits are comparable, but they're not precisely the same. When you have you're talking about the conjunction, it's more intensifying and integrating. It can be borderline obsessive energy, and it's more like you might be really like when you have the aspect with the conjunction. You might be almost overly fixated and obsessed. It could be with doing things that are home related, but this is more about having that right amount of desire and passion in doing so, and it's more of a flowing aspect when you're talking about a sextile or trine in contrast to a conjunction aspect. Now, another thing too, and this is a time too where you have more that again that mood and the feeling, being able to could be expressing the need for having power and control in your life and being able, if you need to probe into something, the Pluto's connected with probing and it's going beyond the surface. And if you're trying to find, say, something out about, the moon is connected with family members and the family in general, the mother. And if you're trying to go beyond the surface, these people, it can be an opportune time to do so. If you're trying to do, say, some deep research into your ancestry, this could be a very auspicious time in doing that. It could also be the time for you when this transit does take place, being able to have more control, over your, reactions or responses to things. If you have your, natal moon in Aries, there may be a proclivity to respond in a rather angry or acrimonious manner. But when you have the transit of Pluto, making a sextile trying to it, you may answer, like say, abruptly, but not to a point where somebody will be rebuffed by the by the response, and it'll be the reaction is more generally more controlled when you have this transit. Now, it's also a time as well when this transit does take place. What's important to keep in mind now, with the moon, anatomically speaking, okay, the moon is associated with the chest, the breast, the stomach, ribs, and water retention. And it's the left or right eye depending on gender. Now, when this transit does occur, um, it's time where, if you needed something where, if there was something, wrong, you're having issues that were, and one of the things I described that are anatomically connected with the moon, this is the time where you're more likely to have, that passion, desire to actually do something about it. If you procrastinated or hesitated on any, on these matters, this is the time where you're more likely than not to do something about the issue. It's also, time as well. Where Pluto is connected with surgery. So if there's surgery that's needed to be done on anything I described that's anatomically corresponds with the planet Pluto, this could be a more auspicious time in order to do so at this time, more so than usual. And another thing too, it's also a time which could be positive. You need to make, say, a transformation that's connected with your home life. Say if you have your natal moon in Sagittarius, say if you might just be trying to expand or add a partition, whatever that is when you make the extension to the home. This could be that time where you might feel more like doing so, more so than usual. And this is also a time where you have more control over, it could be the relationships which are associated with the moon. Again, people that are prominent in your family. It could be the mother, also prominent women in your life, people you're simply close to home to. This is the time where you have really that, I would say, to that right amount of emotional intensity in matters with them and activities that can be associated with those people at this point in time. And it's also a time where you're likely, more so than usual, to have the passion, desire. It could be to do something associated with the public. At this time, if the natal moon is in Gemini or in the third house, it might be something connected with speaking or communications of some sort, or even doing some kind of sales, like door-to-door selling, as some examples. And this is also, when this transit does take place, it's also really very good time. When you have this transit, keep in mind Pluto is associated with crime and corruption, and the moon is about caring. It's about if there's something in your area, say in your neighborhood, where a crime has been committed, and you're trying to figure out, get some clues, information on this matter. This is a time where you might actually care more about the situation, and it's a time, for you, where you're more likely to do, something about it more so than usual, because the moon is about sympathy. It's about caring. It could be a time as well where it can be positive for getting, that support, or giving, receiving support, in matters with the family. Pluto is connected with moral, emotional, and monetary support. So you might be feeling more, like doing this, at this time more so than usual. And it's just a very, positive, transit, again, to be just simply in the mood to feel like doing things that are associated with Pluto, which could be, the occult, which includes astrology, or it could be doing something with insurance or taxes, making a major change or transformation, recycling, something with billing and coding, or it could be investigation, as some examples, deep research. Now, another way, and keep in mind too that the moon is also about our unconscious, subconscious energy. So it's a time where you might be, there might be an unconsciously or subconsciously driven, to do things that are more, Pluto related, and again, what I stated before, that can be, associated with Pluto, the occult, which includes astrology, or something with insurance or taxes, or making a major change or transformation. It could be doing something with deep research or investigation, as some examples. Now, another way this transit could manifest, it could be very positive for having that passion and desire, which is Pluto, and for the emotional needs, which is the moon. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal moon is in Virgo, it could be, those emotional needs could be connected with organizing, cleaning. It could be compartmentalizing. It could be something with health and fitness, as some examples. And it's also a time where it could be auspicious to get support, which is Pluto. And it can be for home and family related matters. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now let's say if the moon is in Scorpio as an example, those home and family related matters may pertain to insurance or recycling. It could be taxes or something with transformation. It might involve something that might involve a will, as some examples. And also too, Pluto related people. When I say Pluto related people, could be somebody in the Plutonian profession, such as somebody with the occult, which includes astrology, or it could be somebody in insurance or forensics or recycling or taxes, as some examples. And or it could be somebody you're just simply in an intimate relationship with. And those people at this time may be more in harmony and agreement with really that unconscious side you may be expressing. Now, let's say if your natal moon is in Aquarius, as an example, it could be a very altruistic, considerate, even non-conforming side that you might be unconsciously expressing. And it's also a time where it could be very propitious for control, which is Pluto, over your reactions and responses, which is the moon. Now, going back again, let's say the natal moon is in Aries. It could be an acrimonious, abrupt, overly outspoken responses, and they might be toned down a little when you have this transit. Now, it's also positive, which for having that desire, which is Pluto, to do things with people that you're simply you're close to home with at this time. And say if the natal moon is in Taurus, it could be Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant people, or simply ones that embody Taurian characteristics. It could be people that are very stolid and patient, persevering, and persistent, as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.